Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to finish up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's selection comes at us from Wormy, the Arcadian Wild, Summer, Walk. Probably my favorite band I've discovered this year, folk meets string quartet, some really fun dancing melodies backed by some solid vocals. This track is part 2 of 4 part season cycle EP. So I went and looked this up a little bit to see what was up with this EP, and this is track 2 called Summer. Walk is just an alternate title for it. I thought it might have been a subtitle, and maybe Summer was 4 parts, and then there were also 4 parts for each season, but no, it's just 4 tracks. Spring, summer, fall, and winter. And they each have a subtitle with a word that starts with W, and summer happens to be walk. So let's dive into this and see what the Arcadian Wild is bringing to the table today. Beautiful harmonies, love the compound time signature.
Deep and zealously, the waters move in amity. Go and play among the beasts.
Oh, really interesting tonal shift.
You can roam around without a fear. Just remember your name.
Yeah, give me more of that.
They harmonize, but even Eden's home to demons they can mesmerize.
Yeah, so we have
eyes on me,
this 3 in here.
If you keep a hold of me.
But there's also a 4 snuck in there as well.
The sky is clear for all eternity.
What a way to land.
This ground is yours. What more could you ever need?
Oh.
So let's walk. Masterpiece into forever, arm in arm. Feel the peace within the breeze. Breathe in you, my work of art. Every morning you appear to be more and more like me.
All these moments of levity.
And as you go, so does my love for thee. For you I'd split the sea. This garden ardently guards your every want. But I sense a lonesome life's a burden one.
Ooh.
Take your slumber, you'll awake to eyes like your eyes. 2 hands that fit in your hands, bone of your bone.
Very neat. There's something really warm about this track. Okay. Ooh, a little bit of shift there. Yeah. Yep. 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 Yes. I will be checking this EP out later for sure. Right now, though, we got to talk about this track. The first thing I want to point out is the polyrhythm. We have a 2 against 3 idea where we fit the triplet sound, the triplet pulse, the 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, within 2 other beats, which makes the 4 feel just a little bit slower, but not quite a lot. It is a fairly similar tempo, and we end up in a track that feels like it is simultaneously in standard meter and compound meter, providing us with the 4 and the 3 at the same time through a majority of this, and it isn't just in any specific instrument that we feel these. They sort of move around depending on the melody, and man, see, can we even start here? Where do I start talking about this in a way that'll make sense as we move from topic to topic? Let's put a pin in that. All right, time signature, meter. We'll come back to it. Passing off of ideas. Playing off of ideas, variations on ideas. A lot of this track is based off of just a handful of riffs. Ostinatos, I think, would be more appropriate for this type of music, but it all means the same thing. Um, where the violin and our 2 guitars have just a handful of different types of moving melodic ideas. There are very few pure chords from a single instrument played in here, which makes a bit of sense from the violin, but the guitars definitely have more room to play polyphonic ideas, and they choose not to here. They allow the song to be a series of single note ideas from the instruments in layers. And we build these ideas based on what's going on around it. So we might start with a simple harmonic idea off of our guitar and have like 4 what is it, like a muted harmonic? Get these little, almost like a thud sound followed by that really high pitch resonance. We get a few of those back to back, and it sort of fills the air with this sound. And then after it, maybe the violin comes in with a couple of notes, and then our other guitar comes in with this moving eighth note idea. And now the harmonic element in our first, the resonance in our first guitar is over, so it begins to incorporate an idea. And maybe it borrows from what the violin did. Maybe it continues on with that eighth note idea from a one guitar, and it sounds like that concept started over here and moved over here to continue. And so we have this strong playfulness between all 3 of our lead instruments in that their part is signified, no, their part is developed based on what's going on around it. Where are the holes in our music? Are there any moments where the 2 instruments aren't playing something? Let's fill those in. Is there something that another instrument did that we can do a call and response on, or we can repeat in another instrument? And it's all these little details. It's not just about building 3 ideas that happen to work well within each other. It's about building 3 ideas that are perfect puzzle pieces for each other. And so we have this concept of building around the other instruments in the track, but we also have this concept of calling back on ideas, where maybe we'll repeat something we heard somewhere else, or continue on an idea that someone else started, or even do a little bit of a canon at times where both instruments might play the same thing but displaced by time. Maybe they'll start one bar apart from each other. And it creates all these little moments where every single melodic idea is not just It's not just neat in isolation, it has a purpose within the larger picture. Every single melodic idea has consideration for what the other instruments are playing, and it builds a track that feels very interconnected. If you were to remove the violin, say, it would make the section fall apart because maybe another instrument is based off of what the violin was doing, and now we have recurring elements or callbacks or playful ideas or bouncing around rhythmically that doesn't sound good on its own because it's missing the context it's based off of. And that's true for just about every section and every instrument across this track. You remove any of them and you break the song. um and so to bring this back to time signature, we don't just pass around melodies. We don't just pass around rhythmic ideas. We pass around time signature as well because each of these melodies is based in either the 3 pulse or the 2 pulse. And so maybe you were playing something in the 4 now, but you're going to borrow an idea that the guitar was playing earlier and they were in the 3. So now you're moving into the 3. Then maybe the next section calls for you being in the 2. And you never know where any instrument's going to be. We also heard a couple variations where they took an idea that was based on the 3 pulse and shifted it to the 2 pulse. Kept the same notes but changed the rhythmic element of it so it fits better in the other time signature. And maybe there's some accommodations that need to be made, removing or adding a couple of notes to fully flesh it out in the longer phrasing because the 3 pulse has 6 beats in the bar, or 3 beats in the bar, depending on how you want to see that. And the 2 pulse has 2 or 4 beats in the bar, so there is different lengths to these 2 sets of phrasing. So there will be some accommodations needed, but for the most part, you can take the core, the root of the idea, and just like I said, expand it or shrink it down to fit within the idea a little better. And so we have all these sections of the song that are isolated and singular in their idea. There's a few sections where we get pure harmony, but for the most part, a lot of this track feels like 3 individual ideas, but none of them really work well on their own. They're part of the musical ecosystem of the track, and I chose the word ecosystem specifically because of what the song feels like to me. Some of it was probably influenced by the music video itself, but Summer and Walk I don't think are arbitrarily chosen. This does feel like going through, walking through fields or a forest or just, enjoying nature during summer, the warmth of the sun. I say that with a little tongue in cheek. It's only spring here and we're already up to 95 degrees. So summer heat around here is garbage. It's not the heat of the sun, it's the boiling atmosphere of melting outside. But I'm sure there's some places where summer is just a really nice warmth, and walking around fields where, we've already seen the blooming of spring and the return of animals that might have been hibernating over the winter. Spring is sort of this transition back into the warm element. That's kind of how I view it. Flowers are blooming, trees are getting their leaves back, animals are waking up from hibernation, and we're getting to see nature alive again. And we're taking a walk through these natural environments. That's what the song feels like to me. So the fact that all these elements in the music don't really mean much on their own and are actually missing important context by themselves, but work well together, really feels like nature to me. Now, of course, this whole time I've been avoiding the bass and the drums and vocals, and I want to touch on the bass real quick because I love what they're doing. The bass is the foundation. The other 3 instruments are all lead. Oh, there are no drums. I don't know why I said drums. There are no drums in here. The other 3 instruments are all lead. The vocals are lead. It fills a lot of space in the high end and not much in the foundation. We do get some semi-foundational ideas if you take all of the notes together into creating a chordal representation based on all three and sometimes four instruments. And you can get chordal information from that, which can help kind of build the idea of foundation, but there really isn't a lot of lower end resonance. There isn't these chord stacks coming from a single instrument to fill in the space at the bottom to support it all. Everything is primarily supporting itself, being interlocked with the ideas around it. But the bass does a fantastic job at sitting below all this and providing any support that it can, and it does this primarily through pedal tones, which I typically am a bit against. I think pedal tones they have their place, but they're overused. Um, and sometimes they're done well, and sometimes I think they're just filler because they don't know how to write a bass line. I don't know. I'm digging a hole right now, and I need to get out of it. Starting to throw some shade. I don't want to. Um, the bass work in here is phenomenal, though. The and here's the thing: it's all about embellishment and variation. If you look at the core beats, just the core beats of these sections, you will find the bass primarily playing pedal tones on them, the root note of whatever chord we are in. However, there are ideas that dance around these. We have excessive use of leading tones, which help us move into new chords. We have little ornamental flourishes between these downbeat attacks that help create some levity and a sense of movement even in the bass line, and just some contrast. The bass isn't just boom, 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 boom. There's movement in between these notes. The bass is alive. It is the heartbeat of the song, but it is not stale. It has movement. It has energy. It does things, and it's really neat to listen to the bass. Just try to focus in on it, and pretty much any of these sections, and listen to what it's doing and how it's spicing up this idea, because it knows it has to be the foundation. It is the only instrument this low. It needs to play this, and it needs to have that chordal structure to it, and to be this supporting element for all the moving parts above it. But it also has its own role to play. It has to stand out a little bit. And I love that small variation in it. Anytime you listen to it, oh, that was neat. Oh, I like that. That was nice. It's just these little ornamentations going on. And that brings us to the vocals, which are just gorgeous. Came in and just had this really warm sound to our lead vocalist. Very calm, very soothing, very comfortable. It immediately put me in a relaxed mood. I think it's really well. I don't know if there are. Well, there's a few vocalists in here, and I don't know how often any of them sing. At least in this track, we had a lead vocalist, but I'm curious if this person was chosen to sing lead on this one because of the way that their vocals resonate with the themes of summer and warmth and nature, versus maybe letting one of the other two, three vocalists taking lead. And that's just to say that I don't know if this band has a lead vocalist or not, because I heard so many voices and they were all gorgeous. Everybody in this band can sing, right? I think. Um, and it wouldn't surprise me if they swapped around vocalists for different songs to achieve specific vibes, but that's also a bit odd. Usually bands will have a lead vocalist, so I don't know which way to swing on that, but if they specifically chose this one to lead this track, I think they did a phenomenal job. It is definitely the warmest and most resonant of the voices we heard. Um, on top of that, though, we just get these gorgeous harmonies from the vocals. There are two or three male vocals and I think one female vocal, and the way that all of their timbres come together, and the harmonies they make, the way that their voices sound together, it's all so good. And eventually we got a three-way harmony, I think, near the end, and it was just really well done. So I'm here for the vocals. It is everything I love in gorgeous multiple vocalists composition. Before we hit the lyrics, I want to talk about some interesting stuff going on in here chordally, harmonically. A lot of this song is exceptionally palatable. It all feels rather typical for the type of music this is, which is sort of like a folky pop rock kind of. Do we call it pop rock? Folk rock, right? Bordering on baroque pop, I'd almost say. Um, but for the most part, the opening chord progressions all felt rather um, typical for the genre, for the style of music. I guess just in modern music in general, but we didn't stay there throughout the whole track, and we entered into some really interesting ideas. We had a couple of moments of dissonance throughout, lingering tension that I thought was interesting, but there was also a couple of either mode or key shifts as well throughout this track that I'm I'm kind of curious about. At least my vibes from the song is a gentle walk through plains and fields. A majority of this track doesn't feel like it introduces tension or negativity or anything like that. It's just very calming and soothing. But there are these rare moments where we get a little bit of tension to it, and I'm curious what the intent is behind those. We also had a key shift near the end that brought the entire song up a little bit in pitch and also added a bit of tension to the track overall, not just in leading tones, but also in just the general flavor of the chord progression. And so the song kind of pushes towards a little bit of a darker element in the latter half of the track that is resolved in the is resolved by the finale. But I'm curious where we venture lyrically and see if we hit points that would match those. I did enjoy hearing the multiple shifts, though, harmonic shifts in this track. It's uh, it's a bit rarer on this channel to find a song that does that more than once, and I really enjoyed kind of not knowing what was around the corner in this track, despite all of it being very familiar throughout. So lyrically, is this song a letter of possibly instruction or guidance from a parent to a child? I wasn't quite sure about that specific relationship until the very end. Um, it says, "Take your slumber, you'll awake to eyes like your eyes, to hands that fit in your hands, the bone of your bone." And that began to put some of these other descriptions of this other person into perspective. Says, "You're my work of art, you're my masterpiece." What was another one? Maybe that was it. But yeah, it. I believe that equating the creation of art to the creation of another person, I think the most analogous thing to that would be uh, having a child. And the rest of the track, then, once you kind of get that perspective, falls into the line, at least to me, of guidance. It says, "The lion and the lamb, they harmonize, but even Eden's home to demons, they can mesmerize. So keep your eyes on me, watch, and learn how to be." It says, "The sky is clear for all eternity, the ground is yours, what more could you ever need?" The idea of being happy with what you have and trying to impart that wisdom, right? Um, and then there's the end of the track where we start to see some of the feelings crop up in the parent of time passing. Um, it says, "Every morning you appear to be more and more like me. As you grow, so does my love for thee. For you, I'd split the sea." And it's just this beautiful song about nurturing your child and recognizing that it's your job to help them find their moral compass and to help explain the world to them and teach them the lessons they need to learn to create somebody who will do good in the world and will leave it in a better state than when they entered. And I think it's really gorgeous to equate this with walking through summer. I wonder if the whole album is like this, if possibly spring. What is spring is called wake. So could that be the beginning? Um, you know, raising a newborn, whereas this would be more of the toddler or child phase. But then fall is called war, and winter is called will. I don't know. I'm curious. I got to dig into the rest of this album. I suppose it's only 4 tracks long. I don't have a length for the tracks, but if it's anything like this, we're looking at 15 to 20 minutes. Really easy to get through. But I love how everything just kind of connects on this one, and just the overall topic and moral of the story, the topic and message of the story, I suppose. Message of the lyrics. It's something that I just really enjoy. We don't get to see a lot on the channel, and honestly, I don't get to see a lot in music in general. Maybe I'm just listening to the wrong music, but just I don't see too many songs about parent and child. A lot of music is about me or us in more of a friendship or relationship kind of way. Um, Political, me within the world, exploring history, exploring psychology, but parental songs? I don't know. It's just this. I think this is even one of the first ones on the channel, and we've checked out thousands of songs. Um, so yeah, I really enjoy that perspective, especially being a parent myself. Those are my thoughts on Arcadian Wild's Summer Walk. What did you think of this? Anything that stood out to you? Anything that I touched on but maybe didn't dig into deep enough? You have more perspective on it, or you have a completely different perspective on things? Let me know down in the comments. Above the comment section is a description box. In there is a link for Linktree. Takes you here. You can find ways to find my music, a link to the Discord server, ways to support the channel, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. All right, that wraps it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. Nope. Man, I started talking weird, and then the accent came out, and then I got the wrong time. Take two on that. I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC, as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening.